Jake Martinez sat perfectly still in his chair. Around him, 12 alien beings argued about humanity's future. The massive chamber echoed with strange voices speaking in languages that hurt human ears. Jake had been Earth's ambassador for 10 years. He had learned to stay calm when aliens made threats. The Zephyrian Chancellor stood up first. His body looked like a giant insect with crystal wings that caught the light. When he spoke, his voice buzzed like a broken machine. Humans have spread. Too far, too fast. Your kind has claimed 47 star systems in just 200 years. This cannot continue. Jake nodded slowly but said nothing. Next to him, Lisa Barnes shifted in her seat. She had served in the human navy before becoming his aide. Lisa knew how to read faces, even alien ones. The council members looked pleased with themselves today. They thought they had already won. The Aquarian representative spoke next. Her blue skin glistened under the chamber's lights. Gill slits on her neck opened and closed as she breathed the special atmosphere her kind needed. Your species builds weapons when others build gardens. You take resources that could feed peaceful races. The galaxy was better before humans arrived. More alien voices joined in. The crystalline collective spoke through vibrations that made the floor shake. We have ruled this galaxy for 3,000 years. Order has always been maintained. Humans bring only chaos and war. Jake watched each speaker carefully. He had memorized their faces, their habits, their weaknesses over the years. The Zephyrians were proud but easily fooled by flattery. The Aquarians feared anything they could not control. The crystallines thought in patterns that took centuries to change. The hegemony's military commander, a creature that looked like living metal, stepped forward. We offer humanity a choice. Submit to council oversight or face the consequences. Your military expansion ends now. Your fleets will be placed under our control. Your colonies will accept council governors. Jake felt Lisa tense beside him. Both of them had expected this moment for months. Earth's intelligence services had been tracking council communications. They knew this ultimatum was coming. More importantly, they had been preparing for it. You have 30 standard days to comply, the Chancellor announced. His crystal wings spread wide to show his authority. If you refuse, economic sanctions will begin immediately. Military action will follow if necessary. The chamber fell silent. All eyes turned to Jake. He stood up slowly, his simple gray suit, looking plain next to the elaborate robes and armor of the other delegates. For a moment he let the silence stretch. Then he smiled. We understand your position, Jake said quietly. Humanity will provide our response within the time you have given us. The council members looked satisfied. They had expected anger, threats, or desperate bargaining. Instead, they got calm acceptance. This confirmed their belief that humans were not as dangerous as they appeared. As the session ended, Jake gathered his papers with deliberate care. Lisa followed his lead, showing no emotion. They walked out of the chamber like diplomats who had just heard a routine trade proposal. The aliens watched them go with smug satisfaction. None of them noticed the small gesture Jake made as they reached the door. A tiny movement of his hand that looked like adjusting his sleeve. Lisa saw it and nodded once. The signal had been given. Within minutes, encrypted messages began racing across human space at faster-than-light speeds. The quantum communication network that connected all human colonies carried the same coded transmission to every world. Every ship, every outpost. Admiral Kate Sullivan received the message aboard her battleship in the Tau Ceti system. She had been waiting for this moment, knowing it would eventually come. The message appeared on her private screen in simple words. Pack light. Come home. Tell no one. Kate understood immediately. She had helped plan this operation during secret meetings on Earth. Every human military officer above the rank of colonel knew what those words meant. Phase 1 was beginning. Captain Ben Foster read the same message on his patrol ship near Alpha Centauri. He was younger than Kate, but just as experienced in dealing with alien politics. Ben had spent 5 years watching council ships bully human merchants in neutral space. Now those days were ending. Dr. Rachel Cooper saw the message on her tablet. While reviewing terraforming data on New Montana, the colony had taken 15 years to build and could support 500,000 people. In 3 days it would be empty. Rachel began the shutdown procedures she had memorized months ago across 47 star systems. The most coordinated withdrawal in galactic history began. Mining operations that had run for decades suddenly developed equipment failures. Diplomatic missions discovered urgent business back on Earth. Trade agreements that had taken years to negotiate were quietly allowed to expire. The beauty of the plan was its simplicity. Humans did not break any laws or violate any treaties. They simply stopped renewing contracts, stopped bidding on new projects, stopped expanding into unclaimed territory. To outside observers, it looked like compliance with council demands. What the aliens could not see was the real activity happening in the shadows. Every human leaving the outer colonies took something with them. Not just personal belongings, but data chips containing detailed scans of alien technology, recordings of private conversations, copies of classified documents that careless aliens had left unguarded. Dr. Marie Lopez had spent 2 years as a cultural exchange researcher on the main council station. During that time, she had attended hundreds of diplomatic dinners and social events. While making polite conversation, she had been memorizing everything: Zephyrian shield generators, aquarium propulsion systems, crystalline computer networks. She now carried the technical specifications for technologies that had taken alien races centuries to develop. The withdrawal continued for weeks. Human colonies that had been centers of activity became ghost towns overnight. Space stations went dark. Mining platforms were abandoned with their equipment still running. To the Council's monitoring systems, it appeared that humanity was giving up without a fight, but in hidden facilities throughout human space, the real work was beginning. Every piece of alien technology that humans had legally purchased over 2 centuries was being studied, reverse engineered, and improved. Every diplomatic contact had been a learning experience. Every trade negotiation had provided intelligence. The Council had made a crucial mistake. They believed that humans were like them, a single species with predictable behavior patterns. They had not considered that human unpredictability might be a strength rather than a weakness. They certainly had not imagined that humanity's rapid expansion had been as much about gathering intelligence as claiming territory. Jake Martinez returned to Earth on a regular diplomatic transport. To any alien observer, he looked like a defeated ambassador returning home after a failed mission. In reality, he was carrying the final pieces of information needed for Phase 2. The Council had given humanity 30 days to respond to their ultimatum. They expected either submission or defiance. What they would get instead was silence, because humans had learned something important during their 2 centuries. Among the stars, sometimes the best response to a threat is to disappear completely. By the time the 30 days ended, human space would look exactly as the Council wanted it to look: empty, peaceful, under control. The aliens would congratulate themselves on solving the human problem. Without firing a shot, they would not realize until much later that humans had not surrendered at all. They had simply gone home to prepare for the real game to begin. 3 months had passed since the Council gave humans their ultimatum. The Great Chamber buzzed with celebration as alien delegates congratulated each other on their bloodless victory. Chancellor Zix9 preened his crystal feathers while reviewing reports from across the galaxy. The human threat has been eliminated, he announced to the assembled Council. Their aggressive expansion has stopped completely. Their military remains grounded in their home system. We have restored proper order without firing a single weapon. The other Council members nodded with satisfaction. Councillor Thex of the Aquarian Federation stood up to address the group. Her gill slits fluttered with pleasure as she spoke. Human ambassadors have withdrawn from all diplomatic stations. Their trade missions have closed. They have retreated to their corner of space, like children who have been properly disciplined. Commander Nix Callows of the Hegemony Security Forces activated a holographic display showing the current state of human territory. The map showed empty space where once busy colonies had operated. Mining stations sat abandoned. Trade routes that had carried human ships now lay unused. Our monitoring stations confirmed total compliance, Nix reported. Human military assets remain concentrated in the Sol system and their 3 nearest colonies. Sensor readings show no unusual activity. No new ship construction? No expansion attempts? They appear to have accepted their limitations. The crystalline collective spoke through harmonic vibrations that made the chamber's walls hum. Wisdom has prevailed. The young species has learned to respect the established order. Perhaps in a few centuries, when they have matured, they may be permitted limited expansion under proper supervision. More reports flowed in from across the galaxy. The rich asteroid belts of the Vega system, previously claimed by human mining companies, had been redistributed to more deserving species. The crystallines had taken control of the mineral extraction operations. The Zephyrians had claimed 3 former human colonies that offered strategic military positions. The Aquarians had been particularly pleased with their gains. Several former human worlds had excellent water resources that their species needed. For expansion, Counselor Thex displayed images of Aquarian settlers already moving into abandoned human cities. The humans built excellent infrastructure, she admitted. Their cities are well designed and their factories are efficient. We will put these resources to better use than their former owners ever did. The trade benefits were immediate and obvious. Shipping lanes that had been dominated by human merchant vessels now carried cargo for council-approved species. The humans had been undercutting established prices and offering better service than traditional carriers. With them gone, profits returned to normal levels. The hegemony military forces had expanded their patrol routes to cover areas previously guarded by human ships. Commander Kalos reported that several minor species had already requested counsel protection now that human influence was gone. The Corvani delegation arrived yesterday requesting membership consideration, he announced. Without human interference, they are finally ready to accept proper guidance. 3 other species have made similar inquiries. Only one voice expressed any concern about the situation. Sage Veltar of the ancient ethereal communion rarely spoke during council sessions. When the energy being did communicate, others listened. Carefully. Veltar had lived for 7,000 years and had seen the rise and fall of many species. The sage's translated thoughts carried an unusual tone of uncertainty. In my long existence, I have observed a simple truth about predatory species. When they grow quiet, it is rarely because they have become prey. Silence often precedes the greatest strikes. Chancellor Zix9 dismissed the warning with a wave of his crystalline hand. Respected sage, your caution is noted but unnecessary. We have complete intelligence on human activities. They lack the patience for long-term planning. Their rapid expansion was clearly the result of uncontrolled aggression, not careful strategy, the other council members agreed. Humans were young, impulsive and emotional. They had proven this by expanding too quickly without considering the consequences. When faced with superior force, they had done exactly what was expected. They had backed down. Counselor Thex added her own analysis. Human psychology is well documented. They are driven by immediate desires rather than long-term goals. Their own history shows countless examples of short-sighted decisions and emotional reactions. This withdrawal fits their established behavior patterns perfectly. The crystalline collective's harmonic voice supported this view. Analysis of human culture confirms their inability to maintain focus on extended projects. Their attention spans are measured in decades, not centuries. They cannot conceive of plans that take longer than a single lifetime to complete. Commander Kalos presented the latest intelligence reports from human space. The data showed exactly what the Council wanted to see. Human ship movements had decreased by 90%. Military exercises had stopped completely. Industrial production appeared to have slowed to minimal levels. Our monitoring stations track every vessel entering or leaving human territory. He explained, traffic has returned to pre-expansion levels. They are behaving exactly like a species that has given up its ambitions. The session continued with discussions of how to distribute the former human territories. Several species had submitted claims for various star systems. The Council would need to evaluate each request carefully to ensure proper balance among member races. The Zephyrians wanted military outposts in systems that bordered their traditional enemies. The Aquarians needed water-rich worlds for their growing population. The Crystallans sought systems with rare minerals required for their technology. Chancellor Zix9 appointed committees to handle the redistribution process. We must ensure that these resources serve the greater good of the galaxy. The humans proved that unrestricted expansion leads to instability. We will not repeat their mistakes. The meeting concluded with unanimous approval of new policies designed to prevent future human expansion. Any species attempting rapid territorial growth would face immediate Council intervention. Clear limits would be established for military fleet sizes and industrial development. As the delegates prepared to leave, Sage Veltar made one final observation. The ancient being's energy form flickered with concern. I noticed that our monitoring stations have been reporting identical data for several weeks. Such consistency is unusual for a living civilization. Commander Kalos reviewed his displays quickly. The readings show normal background activity consistent with a species in decline. Routine maintenance signals, basic communication traffic, minimal energy signatures. Exactly what we would expect from a contained population. The sage did not respond directly, but the energy patterns around the ancient being suggested continued unease. Veltar had lived through the rise of the Council itself, and remembered when the 12 founding species had been young and ambitious. The current situation felt familiar in ways that were difficult to explain, but the other Council members were too pleased with their success to worry about one old being's concerns. They had solved the human problem through superior diplomacy and strategic thinking. The galaxy was returning to its proper order under their wise guidance. None of them considered the possibility that the monitoring stations might be receiving false data. The idea that humans could maintain such an elaborate deception while appearing to comply was beyond their understanding. They had won, and the evidence proved it. In the depths of space, far from Council sensors, the truth was very different. But the Council would not discover this until it was far too late to change their course. For now, they celebrated their victory and planned how to use their new territories. The humans had taught them an important lesson about the dangers of unchecked expansion. It was unfortunate that the Council had not learned the more important lesson about underestimating a species that appeared to have given up. Deep beneath the ice of Europa, Project Director Alex Chun walked through corridors that did not exist on any public map. The massive facility stretched for kilometers under the frozen surface of Jupiter's moon. Thousands of workers moved through the tunnels like ants in a colony, all focused on the same goal. Alex stopped at a viewing window that looked down into the main construction bay. Below him, the largest military shipyard in human history operated at full capacity. Sparks flew from welding torches as workers assembled hull sections. Robotic arms moved with perfect precision, installing systems that no alien had ever seen. "Before, the Council thinks we gave up," Alex said to the woman walking beside him. Admiral Kate Sullivan had arrived from the outer colonies just 3 days ago. Her ship had traveled through routes that Council sensors could not detect. "They have no idea what we've been building down here." Kate studied the construction activity. Below them, dozens of ships in various stages of completion filled the massive bay. Each vessel incorporated technology from multiple alien races, combined in ways their original creators had never imagined. "How many do we have operational?" Kate asked. 237 ships completed, Alex replied. "Another 400 in final assembly. Production rate is increasing every week as more workers arrive from the colonies." They walked deeper into the facility, passing laboratories where human scientists worked on projects that would have amazed the Council. Dr. Marie Lopez led one team that was reverse engineering Zephyrian shield technology. She had spent 2 years on the council station, attending diplomatic functions and memorizing everything she saw. The Zephyrians are proud of their energy shields, Marie explained as she demonstrated a prototype generator. They think the technology is too complex for younger species to understand. It took them 800 years to develop these systems. She activated the device and a shimmering barrier appeared in the air. We figured out the basic principles in 6 months and improved the efficiency by 40%. Turns out they were using a very complicated method to achieve something that can be done much more simply. Kate watched the demonstration with satisfaction. What about the other technologies? Alex led her to the next laboratory, where engineer Carlos Rodriguez was working on propulsion systems. The room contained drive units that looked nothing like standard human engines. Crystalline components from the collective were integrated with Aquarian flow dynamics and human manufacturing techniques. The Aquarians have excellent propulsion technology, Carlos explained. Very efficient, very smooth. But they never thought to combine it with crystalline computational systems. When you merge the two technologies, you get speed and control that neither race achieved alone. The tour continued through dozens of laboratories and workshops. Human scientists had taken 2 centuries of accumulated alien technology and improved it in ways that its creators thought impossible. The key was human willingness to combine ideas from different sources. Alien species tend to develop technology in isolation, Alex explained as they walked. Each race perfects their own methods but rarely borrows ideas from others. Humans have no such limitations. We take the best from everyone and make it better. They reached the intelligence center, where Dr. Sarah Mitchell coordinated information gathering from across the galaxy. Banks of computers processed data that human agents had collected during 2 centuries of diplomatic contact. Every trade negotiation was a learning opportunity, Sarah explained. Every cultural exchange gave us access to new information. Every diplomatic dinner let us observe alien behavior and technology. We've been studying our neighbors while they thought we were just being friendly. The scope of human intelligence gathering was impressive. Detailed technical specifications for 12 different types of alien technology. Complete maps of Council military installations. Economic data showing the flow of resources through galactic trade networks. Political intelligence about rivalries and alliances among Council members. The Council made a crucial mistake, Sarah continued. They assumed that human expansion was purely territorial. They never realized we were gathering intelligence the entire time. Every new colony gave us a better position to observe their activities. Kate examined the data displays showing current alien fleet positions. What's our tactical situation? Sarah activated a holographic map of the galaxy. Red markers showed Council military forces, while blue dots represented human assets. The comparison was startling. Human ships now outnumbered Council vessels in most sectors. The aliens concentrated their forces around their core worlds, Sarah explained. They never maintained large fleets in the territories we abandoned. When we left, they assumed those areas were secure. They have no idea we've been moving ships through those regions for months. The conversation was interrupted by an urgent message from the construction bays. Captain Ben Foster had arrived with the latest batch of evacuees from the outer colonies. His transport carried more than just passengers. It brought critical components that had been secretly manufactured in facilities the Council thought were shut down. Ben joined the group in the intelligence center, his uniform still bearing traces of space dust from the long journey. The last mining station is offline, he reported. All personnel and equipment have been relocated. The Council's monitoring stations are still receiving false signals showing routine maintenance activity. Alex smiled at the success of the deception. The artificial intelligence systems we left behind are performing perfectly. Council sensors detect exactly what we want them to detect, the signatures of a declining civilization that has given up its ambitions. The AI systems were perhaps the most sophisticated part of the entire operation. They had been installed secretly over many months, designed to broadcast false data about human activities. While the real human colonies were being evacuated, the AI continued to generate the energy signatures and communication patterns of normal civilian activity. Dr. Rachel Cooper entered the center carrying data tablets filled with evacuation reports. She had overseen the shutdown of the new Montana colony, one of humanity's most successful terraforming projects. 15 years of work abandoned in 3 weeks, she said. But we saved everything important. All the biological samples, all the research data, all the terraforming equipment. We can rebuild the colony in a better location when this is over. The true scope of the operation became clear as more reports arrived. Humanity had not simply withdrawn from the outer territories. They had relocated their entire civilization to more defensible positions. Every important facility, every crucial piece of equipment, every valuable resource had been moved to systems that Council sensors could not monitor. Phase 2 begins tomorrow, Alex announced to the assembled group. Every Council monitoring station will experience simultaneous technical failures. They'll be blind for exactly 72 hours. Kate understood the implications immediately. Long enough for us to move into position. The Council will wake up to find human ships in every strategic location in the galaxy, Alex confirmed. Not threatening their core worlds, not attacking. Their territories just ... present. Everywhere they look, they'll see us. The plan was elegant in its simplicity. Humanity would not start a war or make demands. They would simply appear in force throughout the galaxy, demonstrating that the Council's period of unchallenged dominance was over. The message would be clear without words. The galaxy had new players, and the old rules no longer applied. As the meeting concluded, Kate looked around at the faces of her colleagues. Scientists, engineers, military officers, and civilians who had spent months preparing for this moment. They had endured the humiliation of apparent defeat, the frustration of pretending to surrender, and the difficulty of abandoning homes. They had spent decades building, but they had also proven something important about human nature when faced with an impossible situation. Humans did not simply fight or surrender. They found a third option that their enemies had never considered. They changed the rules of the game itself. Admiral Vex of the Hegemony Fleet stared at his display screen in disbelief. The red warning lights flashed across his console like angry stars. Every monitoring station in the former human territories had gone dark at exactly the same moment. The probability of such a coincidence was mathematically impossible. "Get me Chancellor Zix-9 immediately," he ordered his communications officer. The insectoid being appeared on his screen within minutes, his crystal feathers dulled with concern. "What is the nature of this emergency?" the Chancellor demanded. "I was in the middle of important treaty negotiations with the Rigel Confederation." Vex transmitted his sensor data directly to the Chancellor's terminal. "Every single monitoring station we placed in former human space has stopped transmitting. All of them simultaneously. This happened exactly 72 minutes ago." The Chancellor studied the data, his compound eyes reflecting the warning displays. "Technical malfunctions happen. These stations are operating in harsh environments. Send maintenance crews to investigate." But even as the Chancellor spoke, more urgent reports flooded the communication channels. Councillor Vex of the Aquarian Federation contacted them from her flagship in the Centauri region. Her usually calm demeanor showed cracks of panic. "Our patrol fleet in the Alpha Sector has lost contact with Base Command," she reported. 6 vessels were escorting a trade convoy when they simply vanished. No distress signals, no weapon signatures, no debris fields. They are simply gone. Admiral Vex felt a cold sensation spreading through his metallic body. His species had evolved beyond most emotions, but fear was still possible when the situation demanded it. "How many ships?" "All of them," Vex replied. "The entire patrol group, plus the merchant vessels they were protecting. 14 ships total, disappeared without trace." The reports continued to arrive with increasing frequency. Council forces across the galaxy were vanishing in coordinated strikes that left no evidence behind. A Zephyrian battle group investigating disturbances in the Vega system found their sensors jammed by unknown technology. When the interference cleared, they discovered a massive fleet of unfamiliar ships surrounding them. Commander Nix Kalos contacted the emergency session from his command ship near the Galactic Rim. His usual confidence had been replaced by barely controlled alarm. "I'm transmitting visual data now. You need to see this immediately." The holographic display showed space filled with vessels unlike anything in Council databases. The ships combined design elements from multiple alien races but arranged in configurations that no known species had ever attempted. Human engineering signatures were clearly visible, but enhanced far beyond previous human capabilities. "How many ships are we looking at?" Chancellor Zix-9 asked. Commander Kalos checked his tactical displays. "In this sector alone, over 300 vessels. Long-range sensors indicate similar formations throughout the galaxy. Initial estimates suggest total fleet strength in excess of 2,000 ships." The silence that followed was broken by the harmonic voice of the crystalline collective. Their usual perfect coordination showed signs of distress as multiple units spoke at once. "Impossible. Human industrial capacity insufficient for such production. Our intelligence estimates indicated maximum potential of 200 vessels." Sage. Veltar's ancient energy form flickered with patterns that suggested deep concern. The ethereal being had remained silent during the emergency session, but now spoke with urgency that surprised everyone. "I warned you months ago that predators grow dangerous when they become quiet. We ignored the signs that were clearly visible." "What signs?" Admiral Vex demanded. "Our monitoring showed complete compliance with Council demands." The Sage's energy patterns shifted to display calculated analysis. "Consider the evidence we chose to ignore. Human ambassadors withdrew too quickly and too quietly. No protests, no negotiation attempts, no appeals for mercy. Species that expand aggressively do not surrender so easily." Counselor Vex reviewed her own intelligence reports with growing horror. "The monitoring stations were feeding us identical data for weeks. Exactly identical. No variation in energy signatures, communication patterns, or activity levels. Living civilizations do not generate such perfect consistency." The truth hit the Council like a physical blow. The monitoring stations had been compromised from the beginning. Sophisticated artificial intelligence systems had been broadcasting false information while humans prepared their real response. Every piece of evidence showing human compliance had been carefully manufactured. "Commander." Kalos transmitted new tactical data as his sensors penetrated deeper into human space. Long-range scans indicate massive construction facilities hidden throughout their territory. Shipyards, manufacturing plants, research installations, all operating under sophisticated stealth technology. The scope of human deception became clear as more information arrived. Every diplomatic dinner where humans had seemed overly interested in alien technology. Every cultural exchange where they asked detailed questions about industrial processes. Every trade negotiation where they appeared to give ground too easily. They were studying us, Chancellor Zix-9 realized. Every interaction was intelligence gathering. Every friendly gesture was an opportunity to learn our weaknesses. Dr. Marie Lopez's name appeared in intelligence files as reports identified her as a key figure in technology development. The woman who had attended countless diplomatic functions as a harmless cultural researcher was actually a lead scientist, specializing in reverse engineering alien systems. "She memorized everything," Admiral Vex reported. "Technical specifications, manufacturing processes, design principles. Our security protocols never considered that humans might have perfect recall capabilities when properly motivated." The crystalline collective's harmonic voice resonated with something approaching respect. "Elegant deception. They used our own confidence against us? We believed human expansion was purely territorial. We failed to recognize intelligence gathering operations." More reports arrived showing the true extent of human preparation. The abandoned colonies had not been simply evacuated. They had been stripped of every useful component and piece of equipment. Manufacturing facilities that Council forces thought were shut down had actually been relocated to hidden installations. The terraforming project on New Montana, Counselor Thek said as she reviewed evacuation records. 15 years of work abandoned in 3 weeks, but they took everything with them. Biological samples, research data, terraforming equipment. They can rebuild anywhere they choose. The most shocking revelation came when Council forces attempted to investigate human space directly. Long-range sensors revealed that the Sol system was no longer the center of human civilization. New installations had appeared throughout human territory, many in locations that Council maps showed as empty space. They moved their entire civilization, Commander Callas reported. Industrial capacity, research facilities, population centers. Everything has been relocated to more defensible positions. We never noticed because our sensors were tracking false signals. Sage Veltar's energy patterns displayed what might have been admiration. 7,000 years of existence, and I have rarely seen such comprehensive strategic planning. They used our ultimatum as cover for the largest military mobilization in galactic history. The Council members sat in stunned silence as the implications became clear. Humanity had not surrendered to their demands. They had used those demands as justification for actions they had already planned. The apparent retreat had been a concentration of force that transformed scattered human settlements into a unified military power. What are their intentions? Chancellor Zix-9 asked. Are they planning to attack our core worlds? The answer came from multiple sources simultaneously. Human ships had appeared in strategic locations throughout the galaxy, but they were not moving toward Council territories. They were simply present, waiting, demonstrating their capability without making threats. Admiral Vex studied the tactical displays with professional analysis. They're not positioning for attack. This is a demonstration of strength. They want U.S. to know that the balance of power has changed. The galaxy had awakened to find itself transformed. The Council's period of unchallenged dominance was over, ended not by conquest but by a species that had learned to think several moves ahead. Humanity had taken the Council's own rules and used them to change the entire game. Jake Martinez walked into the Council chamber for the second time in 6 months. This time, he was not alone. Admiral Kate Sullivan walked beside him, wearing a crisp uniform with new insignia that represented the Terran Federation Navy. Behind them came representatives from 12 other species that the Council had never seen before. The chamber itself had changed. Where once 12 alien species sat in judgment over the galaxy, now 24 delegates occupied an expanded space. The new arrivals included representatives from races that had been ignored or rejected by the Council for centuries. The Kovani delegation sat proudly in seats. They had been denied for over 1,000 years. Chancellor Zix-9 watched the procession with barely controlled rage. His crystal feathers had darkened to deep red, a sign of extreme agitation among his species. The other Council members showed similar signs of distress. Their comfortable world of absolute authority had been shattered in a single day. This assembly is not recognized, the Chancellor declared as Jake approached the central podium. You will withdraw your fleets immediately and submit to Council authority. These unauthorized delegates have no right to be here. Jake stopped at the speaker's position with the same calm he had shown months earlier. His gray diplomatic suit looked exactly the same, but everything else had changed. The man who had appeared to accept defeat now spoke with quiet confidence that filled the chamber. Respected Council members, we have returned to discuss new arrangements for galactic cooperation, Jake said. The old system of rule by 12 species is no longer viable. The galaxy has grown beyond your ability to control it alone. Admiral Sullivan stepped forward to stand beside Jake. Her presence sent a clear message to everyone in the chamber. This was not just a diplomatic mission, it was backed by the most powerful military force the galaxy had ever seen. The Terran Federation recognizes the sovereignty of all species, Kate announced. We also recognize that some species have been excluded from galactic governance for far too long. Today, that changes. Dr. Rachel Cooper activated a holographic display that showed the current distribution of military forces throughout the galaxy. The data was shocking even to council members who thought they understood the situation. Human fleets now controlled more strategic positions than the combined forces of all 12 council races. While you celebrated our departure, we were building alliances, Jake explained. Every species you rejected or ignored received our attention. The Corvani remember when you denied them membership because their technology was not advanced enough. The Deltans still recall the trade sanctions you imposed for refusing to surrender their farming worlds. Representative Karn of the Corvani species stood up to address the assembly. His people looked similar to humans, but with gray skin and larger eyes adapted for low-light conditions. They had been seeking council membership for over a millennium. The humans offered us what the council never would, Karn said. Respect, fair trade agreements, and advanced technology to defend our worlds. In 6 months, they achieved more cooperation with my people than the council managed in 1,000 years. Similar statements came from other new delegates. The Deltans spoke of human assistance in developing better agricultural methods. The vegan mining cooperatives described how human engineers had helped them reclaim asteroid belts that the council had redistributed to crystalline operations. Commander Nix Callows reviewed tactical reports on his personal display. The numbers were even worse than initial estimates. Human technology has been distributed to at least 15 other species. Combined fleet strength now exceeds our own by a factor of 3 to 1. Captain Ben Foster transmitted data from his flagship stationed near the Galactic Rim. The former human colonies are being resettled by allied species. The Corvani have established mining operations in the Vega system. Deltan agricultural ships are terraforming worlds that humans abandoned. These are not human territories anymore. They belong to a coalition. The true scope of human strategy became clear as more information was shared. Humanity had not simply built a larger military force. They had created an entirely new power structure for the galaxy. Instead of one dominant council ruling over subject species, multiple independent groups now controlled their own territories. Sage, Veltares' ancient energy form pulsed with what might have been admiration. The ethereal being spoke slowly, as if considering each word carefully. 7,000 years of existence have taught me to recognize fundamental changes in galactic structure. This is not a military victory. It is a complete transformation of how power operates among the stars. Councillor Thex of the Aquarian Federation studied the tactical displays with growing concern. You cannot seriously expect the Council to simply accept this situation. We have maintained order for 3 millennia. A galaxy requires stable leadership. Jake nodded respectfully to the Aquarian delegate. We agree completely. The galaxy does need stable leadership. That is why we propose expanding the Council to include all species with significant territorial holdings and military capabilities. The proposal was elegant in its simplicity. Instead of 12 species ruling over dozens of subject races, the new council would include every group capable of independent action. Decisions would require consensus among equals rather than commands from superiors. Admiral Sullivan displayed the military balance that would support this new structure. No single species or alliance controls enough force to dominate the others. The Terran Federation, the expanded council races, and our new allies each represent roughly equal military strength. Peace becomes necessary because conquest is impossible. The mathematics of the situation were undeniable. The old council could fight the human coalition, but victory would be costly and uncertain. Even if they won, the galaxy would be devastated by years of warfare. The alternative was to accept a new system that guaranteed their continued existence while limiting their absolute power. Chancellor Zix-9 faced a choice that no council leader had confronted in recorded history. He could start a war that might destroy everything his species had built, or he could adapt to a galaxy where the Zephyrians were one power among many. What guarantees do we have that this coalition will not simply replace our authority with their own? He asked. Dr. Rachel Cooper answered by displaying the internal structure of the human alliance. The Terran Federation maintains no permanent leadership role in the coalition. Military command rotates among member species. Economic decisions require unanimous consent. No single group can dominate the others because the system is designed to prevent it. The genius of the human approach was becoming clear. They had not sought to replace the Council's empire with their own. Instead, they had created a structure where empire was impossible. Multiple independent powers could cooperate as equals but could not rule over each other. Representative Vel of the Delton Confederacy spoke for the first time during the session. Her people had been farmers and traders for thousands of years, rarely involved in galactic politics. Humans offered us partnership, not submission. They enhanced our agricultural technology and asked only for fair trade in return. This is what cooperation should look like. The debate continued for hours as council members grappled with their new reality. Some, like the ethereal communion, adapted quickly to the concept of shared authority. Others, particularly the hegemony military forces, struggled with the loss of their privileged position. Finally, Sage Veltar spoke with the authority of ancient wisdom. The choice before us is simple. We can accept this new arrangement and remain relevant, or we can fight a war we cannot win and become irrelevant. There is no third option. Jake Martinez concluded with the same quiet dignity he had maintained throughout the crisis. The Terran Federation does not seek to rule the galaxy. We simply want to be part of it as equals. We proved that your old system could not contain us. Now we offer to help build something better. The vote was close, but pragmatism won over pride. The Council voted to accept the new galactic structure. The age of the 12 ruling species was over. The age of cooperative governance had begun, and humanity, having left silently and returned stronger, had ensured that no single species would ever again hold absolute power over the stars.